alive, it's alive. Got it. Just fix this up. Boom. And now I'm recording here. All right. Okay, another episode of the Things I Wish I Knew About Money podcast. I'm your host, Camille Smith, and I have a lovely guest here. Before I introduce her, I'm going to just congratulate someone on episode 74. Last week, I had like a little contest saying if anyone was able to understand Split D and finish it off, they would get a gift card. And Randall, you are the winner. So I was able to send him Amazon gift card. Oh, yeah, yes. I usually have my sound, and I'm going to do it because I wouldn't be me if I didn't have my lovely soundboard. But it seems every time I try to look for it, I can't find it, but I found it today. Let's go. Yes. So congratulations, Randall, for winning that. And I have a lovely guest here. My long-term friend, Christina.
Hello.
Christina,
Thank you for having me.
No problem. How long have we known each other? Since grade 6. So when we were like 11, 12, in elementary. Big up, Corvette.
You know what? I wouldn't have had it anyway. Loved that school. Loved like growing up where we grew up. It was the best. Like so many fond memories. Like growing up in that area, that neighborhood. Yeah, it was definitely a good time to be being raised. Like in the 90s. Like what a different time. Like I told.
It's so true.
You know, I felt so. We got to walk to school every day. Like it was just a different time. Like it was just so much fun. And like, I have so many fond memories of us growing up there and like our childhood friends. And I feel so blessed that we still get to talk to each other, randomly, of course, but like, it's definitely, we still connect, which I feel like I have friends forever.
I know. And I think like our circle, even though we don't see each other often, we still support each other.
Yeah.
And connect. So that's like a big thing. Cause I'm always like, even like, I'm like about the community and everything, but I'm like, I have some core friends from like elementary, high school that I want to support and respect their growth and hustle and stuff. And my friend, you are one of them.
Thank you. Well, it's been a long road but it's been fun. Like I have been loved being my own business owner. I've loved, and we support each other in our businesses. And I feel like that we should just always give back. And I always, anytime, because I can refer people out often because there's always people coming up, clients or others that need referrals for certain services. And I am always ready to refer somebody out. Like I love referral systems. I love word of mouth. I feel like, like if I know that somebody's legit and they're really good at their job, I will definitely, say, hey, go see them, go, like, I've done it with you, with your tax season, your accounting, like, hey, this is who I use. Go ahead. She's fantastic at what she does. And like, I do that with a lot of people because I work off lots of referrals. Like that's basically the bread and butter of my business. And I try to continue to do good work and please my clients and make lasting experiences so that I can continue to get referrals and continue to do repeat business. Like if I've sold you something once, I definitely want you to come back, and I definitely keep those relationships close to me. And it's one thing that a lot of my friends in the industry, we talk about, is saying that giving starts the receiving process. So if you start to give people items of value or valuable, like spending time with them, making them feel heard, or getting to know them and their families, they will definitely come back. And when they need somebody to, hire a realtor, you are always top priority. And I'm only looking to be top priority for my core clients that have been using me often. I'm not, it's nice to meet new people that I don't even know, but I do enjoy working with a really warm lead that was referred to me by somebody else that has already worked with me.
Speaking of top agent, I remember seeing something, the beginning of this month, that you were the top agent. Woo!
Well, I was in the top 3, but yes, it's actually really humbling, and I was not expecting it. You know me, I'm just always keeping my head down, trying to do the best job. Like I didn't take it for granted that I got to work through the whole pandemic. And I was working in an industry that didn't get shut down, which, I benefited from, which was amazing. But I recently switched companies in December after I was with the same company for, I don't know, 7 years. Not even 8 years. Yeah, it was a long, I was with a team, and then once I left the team, I was still with the same brokerage. But it was time for me to grow, and time to me to grow my agency in the industry. So I decided to switch to this newer brokerage, which I think they're cutting edge. They have all the benefits. They are huge in pre-construction and all that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to join. And for the first quarter, I just kept my head down. I felt really like I needed to prove myself working here. And I came in third, and I have never...
What? Hold on.
So I
gotta give you it. Oh, I have to give you.
Oh my God, I've never had that done for me before.
Because that I firstly, because we were friends, but like business, we have a business relationship as well. So I definitely know that you were working your ass off. So like you said, with referrals, I always find that it's best for me to reach out to others that have the expertise in the real estate or any field, and ask them questions about like what's going on. And you definitely are one person that I know that you've been, I don't want to swear, but I'll swear, you've been like busting your ass.
I have been busting my ass. I am a grassroots type of realtor. I definitely come with a little bit of imposter syndrome. Like I just feel like it's like, I just feel that I'm not like, I just have to keep working hard. And I am finally seeing the fruits of all the labor. And like, it took me a while to get here. Some people get here much quicker than I did, but like, you know what? I'm happy with the journey I took. I'm happy with the way I came here. I'm happy that like a lot of people get into this industry and they get kicked down a lot. And that is kind of, that's basically what builds your grit. Like this business is not for people that think it's going to be a quick buck. Yes, you can make a great income, but you have to build relationships. You have to be experts. So not only relationships, but you have to understand the product you're selling. You have to understand people's psychology on why they need to live where they need to live, or why they need to make these moves when they need to make them. You have to understand negotiating, and like all those skills have taken, like, I've honed in on all my skills to get me to where I am today. So am I a master negotiator? Yes. But did I take a course to do that? Yes. And have I been practicing for 10 years? Yes. Like, and I pride myself in that. Like, I'm definitely a bit of my story is slow paced, but I feel like I've built a business that is solid. I have a solid foundation. I have a coach. I have all these things that I put in place to make me an expert. So people feel comfortable coming to me about it, about real estate, about real estate.
I like how you mentioned like you have a story, and I want the ladies and gentlemen to know the story. So, tell them a little bit, because and we will talk about like how you have a team or how you've been growing throughout the years with like a coach and courses that you've taken, because I know it's important. Someone's going to talk to me.
Oh, absolutely. Like well, obviously falling on your face a bunch of times is going to is the best lesson you could ever learn. And a lot of heartache in this business, because you could think you're going to, pull those clients, and then something happens out of your control. And, that's another thing. That's another type of skill you need to learn, like how to roll with it. Like, this shit happened. I got to keep moving. Like, you almost become desensitized to it, because if you get too involved in your emotions, which is very difficult for me to do. And that's probably one of the biggest lessons I've ever had to learn, and how to like get better at it, was like, it's not about you. It's not you. So I've learned, like, that's another type of skill that we need to learn as realtors, that buying and selling real estate is not always, it's not about you. It's about the client. So, handling. So my story. So in all honesty, I fell into real estate like by chance. It's so weird. It's so random. So I was working at like, I've had very few jobs. I am literally a student of the streets. So I literally, because I was in school and college for human resources, and I was going to Centennial, and I was working at a grocery store, and a friend of my sister's, which she probably like doesn't even know this, changed the course of my life. She was like, why are you working at this grocery? She's like, come work for this real estate company with me. They're called Roy LePage. And I grew up, well, I have juvenile diabetes since I was a kid, and I never moved. Like, my parents have lived in the same house my entire life. They bought it the year I was born, and we've never moved. So I didn't know the process of moving. I didn't know what it took. I didn't know any of that. So when she told me, oh, Roy LePage, I literally thought I would be sitting behind a desk and like paging doctors, because I have only been in the hospital system, like my mom would be like, oh, I got to page your doctor. Like, so it was like, I didn't know what any of this meant. So I pull my shit together. I get this job, and I become a real estate receptionist. I obviously, knowing computers and stuff like that really benefited me. And there were some really great people I met in those offices that, what, they knew I didn't know real estate, but they took a chance on me. It was part-time. I did that for a few years, finished college. And then it was kind of one of those things where it was like, are you going to go to university now? Because like, you just have a diploma, and like in human resources, like you need that degree almost, like you need that extra education. And I was in this real estate office, and I was watching all these agents that were like making good money, running their own lives. I was something that a lifestyle I had never experienced before in my life, because my parents were hardworking immigrants that worked from 6:30 to 6:30 every day. Like, there was no room for fun. Like, it was just like, work hard, do a good job, and like get a steady job. Like, that's what we were raised on. So the fact that I ran into this industry where you have to create your own life, or create your own business and create your own income, it took my parents a long time to understand what I was doing.
Oh, I could only imagine.
Like, they were just like, what are you doing? And like, anytime I would fall on my face, to them was like, okay, maybe you shouldn't do this. Like, maybe you should go back to school. And that was their first reaction each time, because that's all they knew. And then eventually I was like, I'm not going back to school. I don't care. I don't want to go back to school. I want to be a realtor. So I got my real estate license. I started working in the back end. So I started doing deals. So like, in the industry, we call them deal secretaries. So they would, once you did a transaction, all your paperwork goes to this receptionist. She processes it. That's how you get paid. So I did a little bit of that. I did also mortgages. Like, I was doing reconciling for mortgages. Like, so I have a whole back end of all encompassing of the whole transaction of real estate. So that was what I meant. Like, I was from the street. Like, I just learned by example, osmosis, being around realtors. And then I just started selling. Like, I was in my mid-20s, and I started working with lots of different agents doing my own little thing. And then I teamed up with a friend of mine, and we did that for a few years, kind of outgrew it. And then now for the last 3 years, I've been on my own. And I am rocking, like, I'm going to say I'm rocking it, but I am doing, I'm doing better than I had ever dreamed. I think just comes with maturity too. And just, I don't know. I got here when I got here at the right time, I feel.
Yeah. Timing is everything, right? And
I trusted the process, which is so cliche, but I did trust the process. And also I was young. So like, I wasn't expecting to I was making a really good income in comparison to people around me, but in comparison to the people in the industry, I was like, okay, there's a lack here. So that's when my business started to really take off, because I started to really look at it like in a bigger lens and make changes.
And would you say that, because you said 3 years, and I do remember you coming to me at the time, and I want to say
that was a monumental conversation I think we had at that time,
right?
Because you told me I was like, I was in debt, and I was, being a realtor, and I was, in my mind, now that I look back, it was delusion. Like, it was like, okay, like I'm going to keep doing, it's like insanity, doing something over and over again and expecting things to change. And I needed to fuck shit up. And I just, took that conversation we had when you were like, maybe you should get a part-time job, or maybe you could just to get out of debt. And I was like, how could I be going and go and get a part-time job when the income in this industry is limitless? What am I doing wrong? So from that conversation, plus, but that was a big pivotal moment, like that. I think we had that conversation at the end of 2018.
Yes, 2018. Yeah, I want to say 2018, because like 2019 we're like still figuring out a plan and all that stuff, and then fucking pandemic happened.
Yeah, exactly. And so at the end of 2018, I got a coach. So we had that conversation in 2017, because I think I was a little bit of a better situation in I started to get my shit together. I was like, yo, you gotta figure this out, or you're going to be on your way out if you don't if you don't start focusing and doing things. Just changing my mindset was the biggest thing. Mindset was the biggest.
You set it up. And that's what I always tell people, changing the mindset. And I'm glad that our conversation and just you seeing the numbers, and you're just like, no, I know that there's opportunity in this industry. I'm about to grind. And that was,
I started learning the power of saying no. No, I'm not going to waste, because a lot of time you could be doing things that make you think you're busy, but you're not busy. It's like, I'm going to, for example, I'm going to run to Oshawa to do this thing for my client, when it's that is not producing, that is not going to produce an outcome where it's
rewarding.
Yeah. Well, or make it the income I needed. I was thinking I was busy when I wasn't busy. So that's another thing entrepreneurs get distracted with as well. I think being in this side, and I get that way too. Sometimes if I'm burnt out, which happens, I know I really understand burnout now. But I start making, I'll just do this and that's enough, but I also learned how to give myself some grace and know that okay, you're burnt out. That's why you're cutting corners right now. Maybe you need to take some time for yourself, because I do work 7 days a week, some weeks. Sometimes I could wake up one morning and think I haven't had a day off in 3 weeks. Seriously. I haven't had an actual meal with my boyfriend, or we live together, but we're not spending time together. So,
so the work balance, the work-life balance.
That's my new phase of life. Learning how to scale. That's the biggest thing that I'm learning now. So I'm offloading a lot more. I'm doing what's important, making sure my clients get the deal done, but I don't need to be, there's just offload, you're just outsourcing, getting an assistant and having a staging assistant. And, even having you in my life has made it, takes that stress out, because imagine if everybody always says, oh,
all
why don't you
can.
just do it yourself? And it's like, I just can't do that myself right now. Like, I just can't, like, it's not feasible or possible.
Mm-hmm. And it is true because
And I'm not good at it. It's like, why? I'm not good at it.
There are times I show you like your financial statements, you're like, oh. And I'm like, you know what? It's cool. Let me simplify it and just show you, right? And it's true because like having a team makes things work. And that's like also something I'm trying to do. And I love how you said scaling to have like a work-life balance, because it's key when
like now that I can afford to scale and like, you know, I got out of debt. That was the biggest thing for me. So I got out of debt.
He did, guys.
I did. Like, I was like, I don't even know how much it was. It was like $60,000 or something crazy. Got out of debt, paid off my taxes, like all these things. But it's been 3 years of grinding to make sure. And I have literally increased my business by 300%.
What she's saying is not a lie. I don't want to like, you know, put your like business out there like that, but you absolutely have been grinding and all that good stuff. And I guess for anyone that's like in the real estate world or trying to get into the real estate world, like what advice would you provide?
So if someone is like, I'm first generation realtor. So if you're a first generation realtor, I think joining a team, I know a lot of people say, oh, discount broker, like, you know, they want to spend money on the brokerage side or whatnot, but there's so much value in working with a bigger brokerage, like training, like you go to these classes, they don't teach you the streets of real estate. And that's what I mean. Like they teach you how to, you know, measure things, and it's very theoretical. And then when you're in the industry and you're actually having to do a deal, they don't teach you how to tie that all together. They don't teach you the music of it all. Like this person needs this person. You need to like how to qualify somebody, how to make sure that you, you know, listen. Like that's another thing. You need to learn to listen. So then you're not wasting time. And I think a lot of agents don't want to join teams, but I think a team is a really good opportunity for new agents because with being a realtor, you have to wear so many hats. You have to be the CFO, the CEO, the marketing manager, all these things. Whereas if you're on a team, they take away a lot of those hats and they make you just focus on being a realtor. And that's what people don't understand, that like, not only are you a realtor, but you take on all these other types of roles being in, like, if you want to do it full time, like I'm doing it, like if you want to just sell one house a year, go ahead. I don't recommend that because you have no idea what you're doing. But if that's what you want to do, then sure. But if you're trying to do it like the scale I'm doing it at, you need to really like take the time to learn your skills. And new agents and new, like, I know it's going to suck for a lot of new agents because they're going to give away a lot of their commission and they're going to feel like, what am I, you know, but you will learn so much more by being on a quality team, because there's lots of teams out there and they're shit. They won't teach you anything. They just have you on their roster just to look like they're legit. But there are literally legit teams out there that will take a lot of your income, but they will support you to make the income. Like they will send you leads, they will train you, they will teach you, they will take you out to learn. Like I spent the first year of being a realtor, like doing a lot of leases and selling houses. I sold a house the first day I got my license. Like I knew that I was born to do this. I just need to figure out my skills. And I couldn't have done that first deal without have already done like all this work in a brokerage. Like while I was in school, I would shadow people. I would go to I would go to open houses and I would not be licensed, and I'd see how they would talk to people at open houses. Like I went to a conference 2 weeks ago, and it was the first conference that I've been into since COVID hit. And it was a lot of young agents, all these like influencers, all these different like whatever. They do what they do, selling tights and selling real estate. And they, but they are Like a few of them are like, I'm doing my first open house this weekend. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Like, have you ever, like, so you've never even shadowed somebody before? And they're like, no. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, how are you gonna go and do something
Yeah.
you've never done before without any type of training? So that's what I mean by new agents. Like, maybe don't stay there forever, or maybe you do, but the first 18 months of being a realtor, join a team. I really recommend joining a team.
Okay. So
because they'll
that's
eat you up and
advice.
swallow. This whole industry, if you're a first generation realtor and not an entrepreneur, like I've never done sales before, you just think it's easy. Like you gotta get some training.
When it comes to sales and commission type of businesses, you learn real quick, or like you said, training, conferences, and all that great stuff.
Objections, like objection handling. Like if you're a brand new realtor and you're going to charge somebody 2.5% to sell their house,
which is
why would they hire you? You need to learn how to sell yourself to these people. What do you come with? What do you come to the table? What do you offer? So that's all the stuff that you learn when you're in your first years, and how to, like, I have a spiel. I have a whole, like, I have lines. I know exactly what to say, when to say it, because I know that it's just, how people will react to certain things. Like I'm in a kitchen and someone's like, I don't know. And like, there's 5 of us in there. My favorite line is like, well, if you want to have a party, this is what's going to feel like. And I'm dancing in the kitchen, like and people are like, oh my God, that is what it's going to feel like. Or we're in a foyer and we're all trying to put on our shoes. And they're like, I'm like, does this feel comfortable to you? If you have a family and like, we're all trying to, like, is this enough space? Like, there's just things that happen and come over time. And like, without training and without just seeing other agents doing it, I would never have figured it out. So it would take me even longer to figure it out. Like,
true.
It would just like it's so much trial and error. But you have to look so polished when you're meeting those clients. You can't, like, as much as we can say, I don't know, I'll find out for you. Like that's one of those lines that I have to use because I don't know everything. But what's leading up to that has to make people feel comfortable. Like, okay, she doesn't know this, but that's okay. Like, I don't expect her to know that. But if I don't know anything, or if my language is scary, like people just, your first impression is so important.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And now,
because I first few showings, I show up prim and like, not that I'm never like it is, you're setting the standard. Like you are on, like I am always early. I am on, like you are just showing people, because that is how you make people trust you, that they're making the most important decision of their life.
Expectations that they want and stuff. So when it comes to the lovely word real estate, because I feel like obviously everyone wants a house, or everyone wants to be a homeowner. What is like some advice for people that are looking for a home, or deciding whether they should just continue to be a renter than a homeowner?
The sad thing about it is that not everybody can afford to buy real estate. That's the one real thing, that as much as we grew up in a life that everybody could, like, if there's a will, there's a way. Absolutely. But you need to be able to save that down payment. And then once you save that down payment, you need to be able to afford those mortgage payments, or or pay the down, or pick up the slack. Like if you decide to rent it out, let's say you work it out, you say that you're going to live in it, then you decide you're going to rent it out, like for mortgage purposes. So you have to make up that difference. Like it doesn't just stop there being able to like put down the money, but if you can put down that down payment and you can get into the market, that is like the first step, because that one investment, that one purchase, maybe it's not ideal. Maybe it's not what you thought you were going to buy. Like I help people buy units, like 1-bedroom condos, couples that are like, they only had 5%. We know we have a 5-year span, because usually if you don't have 5%, you got to lock in for 5 years. If you have less than 20%, you got to lock in for 5 years. So you lock in for 5 years, you pay down your principal, because most people can't get out of your mortgage before 5 years because it's just so expensive, which is fine. You have this unit for 5 years. Maybe you grow out of it in 2.5, and you're just like, you're making it. But that equity, because most of the time, and most times, you will build equity. Yes, in 2020 or in 2017, there was low points, but every market goes up and comes down. And that's not the market you move in. Like, if you can hold on to, like, I had people where in 2020, they would have liked to move.
Yeah.
But the property they wanted to sell wasn't, the value wasn't there yet. Like, there's no point of moving yet. So you put it on you wait a little longer, and then now they move up. Like, they sell the one property to buy the bigger property. And maybe that property isn't exactly what they thought they were going to be their forever home as well. But that's what climbing the property ladder is. And most times in those scenarios where they buy the unit or the property that they didn't think they were going to live in, a lot of the time they hold on to it and they just use it, leverage it to buy another property, which is just like, how amazing is that? Because now not only have you used whatever you could come together to bring together, you live, I don't know, maybe you're living, you're splitting it, or you're renting it out, but you could use that and to buy the next one, like leverage it, like it's just a stepping stone. It's a tangible stepping stone. And like, so this year has been the year of me helping people use their wealth to buy another property. And I've done like 4 transactions like that already this year. And it's just, getting into the market and purchasing what they can afford at the time has gotten to the place where they can buy that next property.
But like the way the property, or not even the property, the market value's been, it's like
a commodity, right? So it's like, there's only so many of these pieces of property that are available. And that's what happens. Like, it's just, when there's so limited supply across the scale, especially when we were seeing the market of January and February, there's so limited like amount of homes that people can purchase, that people in different price points are bidding on houses that are probably, they're like, well, it's the only one I can buy right now, and I need a house, and I'm going to buy it. So then that's where the numbers start to get skewed, because then it comes into where, it's an asshole term, but people say the value is whatever the buyer is willing to pay for it.
And then isn't there, I know recently I saw that there was like a bidding price rule that was happening.
So with bidding wars, where multiple offers, it's a strategy. It's an opening price. So that's where a real realtor will come in and try to handle expectations. Like, if your budget is only $1 million, like that's a realistic budget in Toronto if you're trying to buy something that's or the GTA, not even like the GTA. If your budget is only $1 million, and at certain markets, like right now, it's a little bit different. We're in a little bit softer market. The spring market, the real spring market that's in the spring months, is always a little softer because there's more inventory and there's always buyer exhaustion. Like, because January and February is always so busy, and a lot of people feel exhausted, that when we start to see that more inventory is coming on the market, people start to get they start to get buyer fatigue. The spring weather starts to come out. People start putting it on the back burner. We start getting we start having March break. So that kind of slows things down. Then we have Easter, that kind of slows things down. So we'll see what happens the next few weeks. But around this time of year, like, I even went back recently to read like my old emails, like my monthly emails, to see what I was saying. And in May, I was literally saying the exact same thing. Like, this is the time. If you're a buyer, this is the time. Like, back to the multiple. So your budget is $1 million, let's say, and something is priced for $999. More than likely, they're looking for something more money. Whereas if your budget is $9,999, you should be looking at $799.
Okay.
So it's because they do it. So it's like a bid. So it's almost like an open bid and then hopefully, 999 isn't like the price that they're actually looking for, and like you have some room to negotiate or not. So you can say it's listed at 799 and you put an offer at 900.
Yeah.
Right. And hoping that like that's how multiple offers work. Like right now, I know this is an obscene because I do work in the downtown markets a lot. So there are some like realtors that I've noticed that they literally price houses for $700,000-800,000 under the market value. Under market value. Huh. So it should sell for for 2 million and they list it for 1.1.
Why?
Because they want everybody to come through the door. And right now in this market, it's the prettiest and most well-priced homes sell first.
I get it. Because when you have multiple bidders, someone's trying to outshine someone.
So, and that's what the other thing. So I'm going to touch on this a little bit because I think a lot of people are talking about it in the news right now. Yeah. So they're talking about auctions and how in auctions, how we can see you can see what the last person bid. So have you ever done an auction?
No, but I know, remember, I haven't.
Okay. So even if you're going to like a charity auction, let's say.
Yes.
When you're bidding on something, you don't bid $5,000 high, like in housing prices, you don't bid $5,000. You bid considerably more because you want that person to go away.
Yes.
So seeing the bids in these open auctions it's still gonna be as aggressive.
Yeah.
It's still because it's like you're not gonna you see one price, okay, list price is $799. The highest price so far is $900. You're gonna bid $950. You're not gonna bid $905.
Yeah, because it wouldn't make sense. You'd be like,
yeah, because I can $5,000 is $5,000, but you want to make it considerably higher. So so it's like, so we'll see how this works out. Like obviously it's having an auction option. I'm gonna have it. Like I'm gonna let anybody want it, but it may not be the best option either. And the seller has to agree to letting you know what the prices are.
Correct.
Like because when you offer, you don't know what everybody else is offering. It's all blinded. Like it's all, this is what feels comfortable to me. This is what I'm going to offer.
Until they agree or okay, well, this person was offering this.
Yeah. And normally, exactly. Oh, this feels like the highest price. They feel the most qualified. They feel, it's the closing date we want. And that's usually how it comes to end. But normally the person buying the house feels like they feel comfortable spending that money on that house at that time.
Okay. And shucks. That's crazy. Cause I've seen some houses even in Brampton that were over asking 500,000. I was like,
yeah, but it's not what we should be concerned about. And maybe some people will argue with me on this, but what I'm concerned about is 500,000 more than market value.
Okay. True.
Does it not make sense in comparison to what has recently sold? Right. So if they list, if it's supposed to sell for 1.2, and they list it at 999, it's not but if they list it at 799, then it's going to sell for one. It's just all optics, and to sell it quickly.
These buggers.
It's a weird, honestly, I've been doing this for 10 years. It's been around the entire time. Multiple offers have been here for years. It's just, it's just more common now. I think also because I grew up in my career working in the city markets. So I'm used to it. I'm used to a house in the beaches, listing it for whatever, and there being an offer night and multiple offers, people coming in condition free, people coming in with deposit checks, and them getting to that place and being able to offer that way is just because us agents coach them to get there. How do we become more and more the winning offer? So us agents are well, we need a check. Now you need to go condition free. So we're always just trying to make us the best offer possible and the most cleanest. And
more attractive to the seller.
That's exactly. Like if you're competing against 20 people, how do you stand out?
Yeah. I guess, I know you said there's the saddest reality is that there's some people that actually won't be able to be homeowners, but I don't even think I just thought of it right now. Like
that's like, I know it sounds awful, but it really is like economics. Like, you know what I mean? Like you only make six, like, I don't know, but you could, the thing is, if you're just, it's just economic sometimes, but also sometimes people don't want to take the
responsibilities.
Well, what could be done? Like, you know, maybe you could save so much, or you can buy with somebody else and then you pull your money together, and then maybe you need a co-signer and like all these things, because you're asking, like, I think growing up when I did, I felt like maybe it was a bad thing to be getting help, or, you know, we weren't as open about it, but there's nothing wrong with it. I tell my clients that all the time. There's nothing wrong with your parents helping you right now, because you haven't been alive long enough to save the amount of money you need to buy these homes. But you're like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, why not take the help to progress your future? And that's what your parents want at the end of the day. Like obviously everybody's parents are different, but you know, I would hope the average parent would want their kid, if they can help them, to help them.
You know, get their feet wet with investing in or getting properties, and they'd be able to, you know, help them in the future. Like, remember that time when I got you that house?
Oh, exactly. Or just like my parents got help when they first it just creates generational wealth, and that's where it just starts. And I'm big on generational wealth. I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, you know, this is not just for you, this is for generations. And I like when like I have a client of mine who is near and dear to me, and he is literally bought a townhouse in Ajax for $230,000, bought a pre-construction, used that, so, you know, lived in it for a little while, moved in, you know, everybody's situation is different, moved in with his girlfriend. We leveraged the first property to buy a second property, a duplex in Oshawa, and then we used the two properties to leverage, and now he bought his like forever home with his significant other. So it's like, this guy came from just working for the city, making, I don't know, $60,000 a year. And now his income has obviously increased as time has gone on as well, but he got in where he could fit it. And bought an Ajax, which didn't make sense to him at the time, but he was like, I can afford to buy here. And he bought, and now he lives at VP in Eglinton. Like he bought in what is it called? Like, you know, just bought in a really nice suburb in North York.
So what you're basically saying for folks that
want to buy, get in where you can fit in is my biggest thing. Get a co-signer, get a co-signer or a guarantor, or get someone else to buy with you. Like I'm at the point now where I'm telling my sisters, is like, let's go in together. Let's buy something else. Let's do it together. And because they see how much I've helped other people, and they see the method of it, they're like, yeah, absolutely. Tell me where to do it, and we'll do it. Because why not? Half is better than nothing.
True. Would you advise going outskirts, and how far? How far though? So you see how
I think as the way that as Ontario grows, like we are taking in 400,000 new immigrants every day, and these immigrants are not coming with no money. Like they have money. They coming here because they want a better life. They want to set up their lives. They're coming here, and that's not. I encourage it, because that's the way my family came to Toronto, and that's how we built our generational wealth. Because if we stayed in Greece, who knows? Like there would be no generational wealth if my parents stayed there, and we wouldn't, like, maybe we would have nicer weather, but like we wouldn't have the lives we have now. And I encourage, like, I know that it takes away, I know it could take away from some, but it's not like they don't work hard to get it as well. like to buy homes, to create, like, to work in these jobs. Like, we have the land here, but at the end of the day, a lot of people don't want to live in the outskirts as well. They all want to live in the city. So
especially downtown. I don't know why. There's
me neither, but I think it's just more for commuting. I think a lot of people are just like, it's like, they don't want to have to pay for a car and all the other things. Like, it just makes it easier. But if you can buy a small 1-bedroom condo anywhere in the GTA,
true.
That is the least expensive piece of real estate you could buy right now. And it will grow because there will always be a market for people wanting to buy that.
And it's basically getting your feet wet. That's what we're trying to do.
So 600,000 now is like the 300,000 we were basically, people were entering the market in 10 years ago.
Yeah, true.
Right? Like, that's just entry level now. Like, entry level, even in Pickering, Markham, Mississauga, like, these builders, when you're going to buy pre-construction, I haven't seen a builder like, last year was the last time I saw builders sell something that were under $1,200 a square foot. Now we're creeping up to over 13, 14, depending on if you want to be downtown, it's like $1,500, $1,600 a square foot. Jeez. And how to figure out the math for that is you take the size of the unit. So say you're buying a 500 square foot unit, you times it by per square foot, and that will give you the price roughly.
We're not going to do the math today, guys.
But that's just basically how the builders do their math. And then there's obviously fees towards that. So it's just, Toronto is becoming, it's a world-class city. And there's so much opportunity here. We have so many different sectors of work that people want to come here. And as much as, our government, people may be not happy with it right now, it's a lot more stable than other places in the world. Which is like, oh, well, it's better than, it's like a gaslighting. It's like, well, at least it's, but in all honesty, it is much more safe and secure, and we could see that the movement of money, like development and change.
So true. And I'm glad you mentioned, like, the, ways for folks to get into housing is to collaborate with someone or co-sign and get help. Maybe we got to go to Durham or
like
Peel.
The pandemic has helped me, has put into perspective that, like, a lot of my clients, my core clients, they moved out of the city just because of affordability. Like, it's just, they don't want to, like, some people don't want to have to move again in 5 years or 6 years. They just want a house, and, like, they were willing to commute for the house. And I have moved people throughout the pandemic up to an hour away because it worked for their lifestyle. It worked, for their families. They could see themselves staying, they wanted more than just a condo. Like, they needed more space, and that's totally valid. And you just need to be, that's where it comes in with being a really seasoned agent and, like, understanding expectations. Yeah.
And then getting to know your client, because
absolutely.
I think we were mentioning it earlier, and you mentioned it already, that when it comes to, like, your core clients or people, you've created a relationship with them and built, like, honestly, no one knows, but every Thanksgiving, I look for it. I'm like, I'm there waiting. I'm like, where's Christina with my pie?
So my big thing in my business was to create an exclusive group, and a group, like, so if you were to meet somebody at one of my events, you'd be like, I get the same thing. Like, oh my God. Like, it's like, oh, everybody is I just want to treat people and show them that I appreciate them, that if they do have the opportunity to refer me, that it's like they do that. And doing the pies is always, for me, it's just like a consistent constant in everybody that gets one, and they all, now they expect it. Like, I can't give it up. I can't give it up. It's 10 years. This October will be 10 years. I can't give it up, because if I miss somebody, I'm pretty sure they'll be pissed. And
I'll be like,
and I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to like, people were like, oh, I was wondering where you were. Like, if I switch up the route or something like that. I do have my route down pat now. I have been getting my my staging assistant to help me with like delivering, just because it's taking a toll on like, it's a 3-day thing. Like, especially if I see people, and like most of the time I want to see and chat and get, see what's going on with people, what's going on with my clients' lives. Obviously looking for opportunity, like, seeing if they have any moving plans, like that's me getting in front of them. And at least I know once a year I can get in front of everyone. I also do monthly newsletters, which, advertise, monthly newsletters. I do once a year or twice a year, I try to like do a little party. Last year, because of COVID, I did like, for the kids, I did a dinosaur drive-through. So I got everybody to come to this dinosaur, like theme park where all the parents came. I had like 50 cars. I had like VIP access, and all the kids got to go through so because I did that for the kids throughout the whole summer, I went and visited personally every single person that didn't come to the dinosaur event. Because it was just like, and I dropped off a gift, and I was just like, creating a relationship. I'm more than just like, transaction based.
It's true. And I don't care what anyone says. Christina is the first person I think about when I'm like,
thank you.
When I'm about to get my place.
Well, and even with people that like, I have friends of mine that like, they haven't bought yet, and I help them along the way. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like, let's think about this option. So sometimes my job starts way before someone even makes a transaction, and they still get gifts. They still get like, because they'll refer me before they may even do a transaction with me. And that's perfect. Makes it all worth it, because they trust me already.
And trust is important, right? Trust, building relationship, and feeling appreciated or wanted is a big thing when it comes to that type of business. So I'm glad. And also, because I know your personal finance journey with like paying off debt and everything, what are the 2 or 3 things that you wish you knew about personal finance when it came, when we were growing up? Because
one, how to budget was number one. Because I grew up in a household where we weren't taught how to budget. We just told not to spend money. How to invest and what that means.
Yes.
Like, my parents were really conservative with investing. Like, they had an investor group guy that would come over, whatever, but like, it was always around. Anyway, his son took over his business now. He'd come over once a year. They would talk about like, oh, we're going to put it in this account. And my parents were like, we want to do the least risky thing. We want to do the least. And I always thought, I've always been conditioned to think that like, to take the path of least risk. And that's why coming into this industry was like a real shock to my family, because they're like, there's so much risk in this. So how to invest and what does that mean? And again, like, really understanding like leveraging, because not all debt is bad debt.
True.
And my parents paid off their mortgage by the time I was 10, and it was an 80s. Obviously, interest rates were like 15%. But
I just realized that the other day. I didn't know.
I know. What? People are hoping that they go back. It's so funny that everybody's like, oh, in the 80s and the 90s, we were paying interest rates and blah, blah, blah. I said, but how much was the fucking house? Like, are you fucking serious? Because 3%.
We'll talk about this off topic, because the way my dad told me one time, he's like, you should be able to afford a 900. I'm like, in what world? 900,000 house? Come on. What?
Well, the thing is, first you got to save the 175 or 180 or whatever it is you got to put down, and then you have to be able to afford a mortgage of like $700,000. So I don't think people, even if the mortgage rate is at 3%, like you're making more interest than you were on these $200,000 mortgages at 15%. So when people tell me things like that, I'm like, okay, that seems a little drastic, but It could happen. It could happen, but I don't think so.
Fair enough.
As rates go up, prices
Yeah.
will flatten, but
Yeah.
not do they flatten to the point where people that couldn't afford it 2 years ago are back in the market? I don't know. It really depends on the person.
Yeah. And hopefully like people, you know, are still saving to be able to do that, or trying to find different avenues to work through it, because
so a few things to like make the next generation feel probably a little bit better. Right now, Canada is going through the biggest like what's the word I'm looking for? Hold on, let me find it for you, because I want to say it right so then people understand.
Google.
No, it came in. It's transfer. Sorry, it's such a silly word. So Canada is going through right now the biggest transfer of wealth over the next few years. Like boomers are obviously they're coming towards their life expectancy, and they hold the most amount of wealth. And with that, with the boomer generation, that means all this wealth is coming down to their millennial children and their generation. So it's like, we are going to see the biggest transfer of wealth over the next 10 years that we have no idea. And I did see that while in the pandemic, where parents were like, you know what, like rates are lower than we've ever seen them be low. House you can get in now, we'll give you a gift, because why wait until we pass away to give you this gift and then you're struggling. So I did have a lot of clients where during the pandemic they were able to afford with their own savings plus their parents saying like, look, here's transfer of wealth, like take it on, because it is going to be yours anyway. Like, and that's what we'll see in the next 10 years how that affects the real estate market. The biggest transfer of wealth, plus 400,000 immigrants a year.
Yeah, that's
and wild. The government is spending billions in construction. Imagine we build too much.
But they've been building a lot, like downtown, like Lakeshore.
It's not enough.
Lakeshore, not enough.
Not enough.
I don't know. They're trying to use every little piece of land.
It's gonna look like Shanghai by the time it's all done.
Dang, it's gonna be crazy when we see like
and then they're gonna do it like Monaco, where they're gonna build out into the water, and then there's gonna be even more buildings.
So they're gonna just like try to go around like Center Island stuff.
Yeah, like it's just like they're gonna continue to figure it out because. Yeah, we could all, like, the thing is that people can continue to sprawl out but we need also the amenities for that. We need the schools, we need the transit, we need so because the city already has it, we build up. Because there's not enough land to build flat anymore. Gosh
darn it. Unless you go like outskirts and stuff.
Yeah, which is completely fine because they will continue to rise as well. And you get used to your environment and you get used to like living out there.
True, because like, look, I remember I never remembered what Pickering or Ajax and stuff looked like. And look how it's developed, or even Markham, like how much development has happened in
Markham
the last...
has like worse traffic sometimes than like Toronto. Like, have you ever driven through Markham? It's awful.
Depends.
It's busy.
The 16th?
My sister moved there. It's busy. Like she lives like I had no idea until she moved there, but she moved right by the mall.
Oh, Markville
Mall. Like, trying to make a laugh. Like it's just crazy. The population is completely growing. It's becoming more and more people.
Basically, we have to find a way
we have to find different types of cheaper ways to build. Would that be like shipping containers, homes, or laneway houses, or garden suites, or these strip malls that are, or sorry, not strip malls, but like the retail commercial, instead of just completely knocking it down and building, but like maybe building on top of them and building another 2 apartments. Like we need to figure out how to infill what we have and to create more like cheaper options, because yes, we can continue to build, but they're not cheap enough to build where the average person can afford them.
Exactly. I like that idea.
Yeah, like the shipping containers, like I think also our ideology has to change around all of this too. Like there's nothing wrong with it. These or like prefab homes.
You make them nice, and look at the like RVs and stuff.
Yeah, that's just, you know, that's just kind of, it's not because that's what you can buy for 300,000.
Exactly.
And it has running water, it has electricity, and then, you know, you buy that and you move on afterwards. But that's kind of where us as a whole, you know, developers, the community needs to figure it out, because the city also charges a lot of money for development. And then that gets pushed onto the owner. Like per door, the city charges like $100,000 before they even like just to build that unit.
Yeah.
So that stuff gets rolled into the prices. So we just have to start thinking of more economical ways to build homes. Also, they need to open up the rules against making duplexes and triplexes and all these, like, yes, they need to be safe for people, but like there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of red tape sometimes. Yeah, just getting them approved with the city, and, you know, as long as they're fire retardant doors, the windows are up to par, like there's smoke detectors, like, you know, you shouldn't have to make people have to have like, you know, ceiling height clearances. Like there's a lot of ways that they put a lot of red tape in the city, especially. I found that the other suburbs, they're trying to promote creating duplexes and all, like Durham especially. But I find that there's a lot of red tape in the city.
A duplex would be nice though.
Yeah, it's a duplex, I feel like multiple, like buying a condo is fantastic, but if you could get a duplex or a triplex, one of the units for sure is paying your fees, and then maybe the other one is paying your taxes and whatnot, and then, you know, maybe you're not breaking even, but that's okay, like as long as it's self-sufficient.
True.
That's a lot of people get into wanting to invest and thinking like, oh, I'm gonna make money, and it's like, no, like, not in the beginning. You have to kind of go through the motions.
It's the quick get quick rich. Wait, I always say the saying wrong, but it's like them
get rich quick scheme.
Yes, that way. It's like they always try to like, oh well, I heard like in the States they do that. I'm like, this is not the States.
In the States, it's different. Like I actually went to like a seminar, like a walking tour in Detroit once.
Yeah.
And they don't have any red tape. Like there's no red tape on like how to build these like apartments and who rents them, and like, and also it like the climate's so much different that they have housing everywhere. That like it's not. Whereas where we in Canada have so much land that's not usable because it's just so cold. Whereas the States, they can build. There's so many, like all the, like, you know, it's just more area, more circumference. So it's so many more people.
Right? So annoying.
It's true. It's like, that's exactly that. And that's why when the recession, we heard all these, like, these houses went, like the housing market like sank because they were building everywhere. Or didn't, and then also didn't, like, you know, so giving mortgages to people that couldn't afford homes.
Yeah. And then we have a question as in, when's the housing bubble gonna hit?
You tell me. I don't know. It's basically so many factors have to happen for something like that to happen. True. Interest rates have to continue to skyrocket. Something catastrophic, like, you know, war or another deadly virus, because that, you know, it did happen. We had a softening March, April, May of 2020, and people who jumped in then are laughing now. But they weren't, like, my one key of advice to people that are watching this, when people are running away from real estate, you run towards it. Because that is because when everybody wants it, that's when you pay the most for it. But when everybody's sitting on the sidelines thinking like, what's going to happen? And you think it's a great opportunity, you should jump in, because more than likely it is.
It's like the stock market.
Oh yeah. Like I had a couple clients, like all the clients that I helped between March 2020 and June 2020 cannot afford the homes that they purchased. anymore because the values just increased so much while they've held on to them for the last 2 years.
Don't worry.
I think a lot of my clients is that's the case, but it is something that it's one of the first catastrophic things I've had to work through, where I was like a little bit like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Am I going to have a job? Like, I didn't know. And that's why I feel very blessed to be able to have worked through the whole pandemic. But it's just, no one knew what was going to happen. No one would have expected this.
Would have known.
No one would have known.
What was it? March 16th or March 13th, which was a Friday. I remember that day because I went to the supermarket. It was crazy. But who would have known, right?
Oh, I went to Costco. I remember standing in Costco. And I think that was the last time I went to Costco.
Why and everyone was like,
what's going on? And my two friends who had children were like, I gotta feed my kids. Like, oh, I was like, oh, that's gonna...
Costco of all the places. I mean, I went to Walmart.
No one knew what was going on. Like, we didn't know. Like, no one knew what was happening right then, but it was intense for sure. And then, yeah, I remember I went to dinner with my good friend, and her husband works like in hedge funds, and they were talking about it, and they're going to shut down the world. They're going to do this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how are they going to shut down the world? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And lo and fucking behold, the whole world shut down. And March 6th, we had that conversation. And she's like, Christina, it's going to shut down. It's going to happen. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And like, I remember in January in the nail salon.
A week later, did it happen?
It happened. And I remember in January, because they were like, it was started to come out, and I was like, just ignorant to the fact that just so many people live there. That's why this is spreading. Nothing's going to happen here. Yeah, right.
As soon as it hit, as soon as I remember as well. As soon as I remember that it was coming into Canada, I was like, wait a minute. Why aren't we taking care of this shit?
My cousin, who's a very good friend of mine, she was pregnant. She was in the early stages of being pregnant. We were all in February. It was like around February 18th, 20th. And she was paranoid. And I was like, relax, like, calm down. You can go to dinner. Like you can go to dinner. You're being so dramatic. And load and fucking behold.
I mean, it is what it is. Not like we're laughing that COVID's a joke. It's obviously it wasn't.
No, never. Yeah. It's just like,
how did we know?
It's not a joke. It was just like, it's more the ignorance. Like I laugh at myself because the whole time, though, in the beginning, I was like, just like, you just like it's like a boiling pot. You just want it to stop. You're just like, just stop what you're doing. Okay, we get it. Like, just stop. And I felt like there was no stopping it.
Right? That's so true. It's like you couldn't, the fire was still boiling. You're like, like it's just like, turn it off.
Oh, now we can't fly anywhere. Like, it's something I will remember. Like, we will remember for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, it definitely has hit history in our lives and stuff, and all that good stuff. And how? Because I know, folks, we've been on for a good while.
Okay.
What are other? I wouldn't say other avenues that you're. I mean, shit. Who knows? You could be making a book, or what did you say the other day? Or the other second, making tights.
Making tights, selling tights. Someone called me up and be like, yeah, so what did you say about me? Selling tights? I was like, do you? What do you want to do with your life? Fine. Like, talking out of my ass again. I'm sorry.
Just having a conversation.
Yeah, like I was just, I didn't understand that you can make a career off selling tights. I'm sorry. Like, I'm the first one to like apologize. I'm sorry. So what I say that I'm what I'm doing right now is I'm saving to buy another pre-construction condo. That's a big thing. I want to own 5 by the time I am 45. So that is my thing, because that's my exit strategy. I want to own a few properties. Okay. And then my next thing is like, I start getting into stocks with you, which is another like investing.
We're just wait. We're only
we are tipping our toe in. We are tipping our toe in. I'm like one of those people, like someone who's like a flipper. Like, I thought I was gonna make money. Like, so I'm doing that, and and then my next, obviously, buying another, and then leveraging my business so then I can have someone work with me that we can kind of like, they would be a buyer's agent for me, or just some extra help so that we could just, I could start to scale even more and take on more business, and could make some money off someone else as well. Like by training them, by making the whole, making it worth their while. But obviously there has to be a give and a take with a team.
Was it using other people's time, basically? All that good stuff.
Yeah, like I would love, I have life goals and personal goals that I want to also achieve, but sometimes those goals are difficult because I can't be in so many places at once. So if I could start to,
unless we get a clone.
Right now I'm happy. Like my business is like an easy flow. I can handle it. Like, but there are 9 months, 8 months out of the year, or I want to start taking more time off, and that's another thing too. But that I really can't breathe. Like I am literally, like my phone, I just want it to stop ringing sometimes, just because it's you're just client managing and making sure, and that's a sign of success, which I love, but it is very stressful. It could be very stressful, and I always want my level of service to be excellent.
Yes, and it is. We have a lot of friends that you've gotten houses for, or sold houses, purchased houses, and they always love it and everything. So I'm happy to see that, like, we were like frigging 11, 12 years old, and I know we look young, but it's been a long journey, and I'm really proud of you with the growth. So but I'm glad to have a friend like you that's in my life and able to see you grow and then help you build and stuff. And now that you said a couple things, we have some talk to do afterwards.
Yeah, I hope I was helpful, and I hope I wasn't discouraging to anyone, because sometimes it doesn't help not to be real. But if there's a will to buy real estate, there's a way. In some cases, there's no way, and that's okay, but I think that if there's a will, there's a way. You can figure it out. There's, you should own your piece of the pie. And
just this comes with planning and having a different mindset, right? Exactly. And how can the folks find you? Gotta give you the contact. I guess obviously
my Instagram handle is Christina.del, and my brand is Deligiannis, so DELIGIANNIS.ca is my website, and I work for Rare Real Estate. We are a independent brokerage that is on Avenue Road, where I am right now. And if you're a realtor listening to this is a great brand to work for. We're cutting edge. We're the brokerage for entrepreneurs. They have a bit of a profit share model as well at this brokerage, which is great for people who want another stream of revenue. And I'm so far, I've been working here for the last 5 months, and I've been really happy here. And yeah, you can find me online. You can send me an email. I'm really searchable. You can just Google my name and you'll find me.
And I'm going to put all the description at the end. And all that good stuff. So,
and if you get any questions from this podcast, I'm happy to answer them.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you got
the sun is now setting, so it's probably good. We're probably ending it because
right. So folks, if you have questions, please ask me, and then I'll send it straight to Christina. But don't expect me to answer them legitly, because I don't know this stuff. That's why I got Christina on here.
Yeah. And all that stuff. You had asked me one question about, like, you were like, oh, do you want to touch up on, like, the first time buyer RSPs and stuff like that? And To be honest, I'm a realtor. I focus on selling homes. I understand value. I understand the process, but I help also my clients get set up for getting ready to purchase. So even those like avenues, like what is the best way to save? What is the best product to like, how do we get there? I can help you get that set up. I just won't give advice on like what is like what to do with saving. And just because everybody's different, everybody's situation is different. And I'd rather someone who's an expert, just like I'm an expert in my field, to give expert advice on that stuff too.
Absolutely. And don't worry, because I will do some research, and I think I have someone in mind that would want to talk about that. So that's definitely in the works, because every week something's happening.
Real estate's a topic of conversation most of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you watch CP24, they're gonna that's all it. It's just the news. It is what it is. I'm used to it.
Yeah. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. We're just gonna tune out with Andre's thing. Too bad you weren't able to meet him. I think you met him. No, you haven't. But it's all good.
Maybe at a function or something like that, but I have not met him.
At a function? No. Because I met him around the pandemic, like right before the pandemic. But you met Kurt. Kurt remembers you and everything. But yeah.
Thank you for having me.